Hi Talia. So my name is Jacques. I work for the Eco Ambassadors program. And so my goal is to kind of get to know all the different cool green careers and all the different places that people have worked or done things related to environmental or sustainability things. So could you maybe introduce yourself and then tell me a little bit about some of the things that you've been working on?
Sure. So my name is Talia Schmitt. I'm a junior at the College of William & Mary. I am self-design major of environmental community health. And I have worked on a couple of things. So I guess what I'll share with you today is I co-founded an environmental education organization called Eco Schools Leadership Initiative, and we call it EASLEE. I'm the head sustainability dining intern for the dining services, and I can share some of the different jobs that I've had over the summer as well. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, so to start, I'll start with the program that I co-founded. So I co-founded a program in 2013 called Eco Schools Leadership Initiative, and it started as sort of like a high school endeavor where I went to a local elementary school and taught kids about the environment. And then when I went to William & Mary, I wanted to continue with the project. So I started an EASLEE chapter here, and I go along with a dozen William & Mary students, and we walk over to Matthew Whaley on Tuesdays, and we teach kids about the environment. And I've had a really great time with that, and I've loved acting both as an educator and a mentor to other students, and just a collaborator with other students to learn and teach environmental education. Yes, so that's one of my projects. Do you want me to talk more about it, or?
Sure. Okay, I can ask you questions. What has it been like being an environmental educator?
So I've really enjoyed the feeling of going to an elementary school and opening these kids' eyes to a subject of the environment that they never really experience. And in schools, oftentimes, kids don't have the chance and the opportunity to go outside and play outside and learn about the environment. So that's why we go, and we actually educate kids who are part of the Rec Connect after school program. And so we come in and we present to those students of all ages, K through 6th grade, and oftentimes we'll bring them outside and we'll play games with them outside. So I really enjoyed being able to be creative. We do lots of upcycling crafts. So for example, we have cereal box folders, and just last week actually we made musical instruments out of upcycled materials. So we brought cereal boxes and made guitars out of them, and then we made maracas out of water bottles and rice. So that feeling of being able to be creative with students is really nice. In addition, it's been fun to kind of incorporate some of my different passions about teaching about climate change and teaching about food sustainability in the curriculum. So at Matthew Whaley, those are some of the different activities that I do.
You mentioned the term
Upcycling.
upcycling. What is upcycling?
So upcycling is taking what would normally be considered trash and making it into something usable again. And usually it's fun and creative. So for example, one of my other favorites is taking milk cartons or taking orange juice cartons and making it into wallets. So you just fold it up and then you can make it into a wallet. And that's been awesome as well.
Kind of what have you learned by being an environmental educator, either about yourself, the environment, or the kind of students you work with?
Yeah, so I've learned a lot of different things. I've learned about the environment myself because, for example, when I teach climate change, we teach it through this activity called greenhouse gas tag, where basically the students, half of them are energy and half of them are greenhouse gases. And so you have to really understand how climate change works and how the greenhouse effect works in order to play the game, because you have students who are lined up, at the sun, and they're the solar energy, and and they're running to the earth, and then when they run back out, they are getting trapped by greenhouse gases who are other students. So by doing those different interactive activities, I've also learned about the environment. In terms of being an educator, I've learned the different characteristics that it takes in order to get kids to be patient and sit down and be quiet, and all of those things just take time and practice, for sure.
What do you think are the most important qualities in an environmental educator and a person that like works with students?
Yes. So I guess to add to my experience with Easley, I work for Nature Bridge, which is an outdoor education organization, and I worked in the San Francisco Bay Area last year, but they have environmental education centers all over the country. And so some of the different activities I learned as I was taking them on hikes and out to the beach is, first of all, you need to be organized. So what that means is having a prepared lesson plan, and that's really important because if you don't have a game plan, then the students will kind of get all, riled up, and then you need to, you won't really be meeting that objective of why are you there, what are you trying to educate the kids about. So for example, at Nature Bridge over the summer, we would make mind maps every morning, which was like a literal map of pictures of the different things that we were going to do throughout the day, and we would draw arrows to the different places that we would go. And that way, one of the kids would hold, it's kind of like a treasure map. And so that would be a good way of keeping track of what you're doing for the day. For my organization, Easley, on our website, easleyleaders.org, you can find all of our curriculum that we've typed from past years and years today that we're currently still making curriculum. Yeah, and I guess in terms of other things that I've learned, always have some different back pocket games that you can play with kids, some different games that you can kind of just like, when kids are getting all riled up, just have them do to get back in order and to calm down. Even just having the kids sit down and put their hands literally on the ground to be grounded is a great way to get kids' energy down, which has been great.
Do you think it's been different working with the kids in San Francisco versus working with kids here? Are there any like educational differences?
Well, here I'm challenged with the fact that we're teaching K through 6th grade at the same time. Whereas in California, we're teaching a group like 4th through 6th grade for a week or two, and then we'll move on to the kindergartners. In addition, in California, I'm teaching them all the time outside, including like 3-day camping trips where we're backpacking, to near woods, and we're spending the nights camping outside by the stars, which is an incredible experience. But it's totally different, it's a little bit different than what we're doing here. And I guess one thing I would say to that is the power of outdoor education and residency programs. So having a program where kids can actually sleep there is really important for the growth of the kids, and having them be able to have more time where they're actually bonding and trying to do things like make a campfire and go on a night hike and things like that. So you get those more with the consistent outdoor education with the residency programs included. Whereas here, we're doing the best that we can. We're working with a structure that already exists, which is there's a school, there's an after-school program that already exists, and us students, we're sort of filling in that gap, which is that these kids aren't learning about the environment, they're not getting outside. So instead of creating a completely separate program, we're going into a program that already exists, which is this after-school program, and we're using that program to take kids outside and to teach them about the environment.
Do you think there's a lot of room for, like, let's say students want to like work in environmental education in like the summers or even after graduation? Do you think there's a lot of like room or space or opportunities for that?
Absolutely. And actually, even for this summer, I've been looking at all the different jobs that I could do. And the cool thing about environmental education is you can do it anywhere. Like you can, I'm looking at jobs from Maine to Massachusetts to California to Northern Virginia. because once you develop those skills as an outdoor educator, as a leader, it can take you all across not just our country but the world, which I think is a really cool thing. And it's a pretty inexpensive way to travel as well if you're able to stay at these different places or camp or whatever. And so what I love about being an outdoor educator, one of the things is just being able to be outside all the time and be active and have a job where I'm not sitting at a desk, where I actually get to go on hikes and get exercise while I'm teaching and getting paid for that, which is pretty great.
Do you think there's a difference between being like an outdoor educator and like, let's say, like a science teacher that teaches within a school?
Yeah, one thing about being an outdoor educator is there's a lot of emphasis on not just the science aspects, but there's a lot of emphasis on observation skills and having kids kind of figure things out for themselves, which I think is a really valuable skill, right? So for example, being an outdoor educator, even at Matthew Whaley, we'll bring kids outside and show them the trees. And we'll bring them outside different points of the year, and they'll see how the trees are changing. They're changing colors, and so they're observing those changes, and then we're going to talk about, why are things changing? As an outdoor educator, in California, for example, I saw so much team bonding because they're going on hikes together, day-long hikes. They have their water bottles, they have their little legs, and they're walking about, and they have to come up with like team games or ways that they're going to all get up the hill together. And ways that they're going to support each other when there's one kid who's lagging way behind, So it's a lot about teamwork, and I wish that was more incorporated into our school curriculum, because I think those aspects of teamwork, kind of building a community around education is really vital.
Yeah, that's really good. I learned a lot from talking to you about that. Could you maybe talk about some of the other things you've been involved with?
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the cool things about being part of EASLY and being an environmental educator, but also trying to be a mentor for other students, is this idea of kind of like teaching other people about how to be good, effective, efficient leaders. And so one thing about EASLY is because it was so successful here at William & Mary, there have been 6 different chapters that I've started in Northern Virginia. And so we have a lot of different high schools and colleges that are participating in this program, where we have students going to their after school program nearby and teaching kids about the environment. And it's been really awesome to kind of help those students grow as environmental educators and provide curriculum for them. I have office hours twice a week where they'll call me, and even though we're on the phone, we'll talk through the lesson together. One of the most effective things that I've learned as an educator and as a mentor is one of the best things you can do is have the mentee teach something back to you. So if we're talking about a lesson and it was you and me, Jack, and I was trying to teach you a lesson, what I would do is have you teach it to me. And I would just pretend like I'm a student that knows nothing. And that way you actually get a chance to practice what you're about to teach for real. And I think that's a really good way to be a mentor and help somebody out. So anyway, with EASLY, I've been able to experiment with different forms of leadership. A really important thing is having community partners. So we partner with the National Wildlife Federation to host an annual conference every summer where we teach about 100 students every year in Fairfax County how to be a good environmental educator. And that's been really rewarding. And then it's been rewarding to be able to be a mentor to these students. And so I guess the link that I'm going to make here is that, I've tried to be a mentor for the EASLY students, and then one of the other hats that I have is that I'm a dining intern for William & Mary Dining and Sodexo. And so what my job there is to have local fresh food in our cafeterias, and also to educate the student population here at William & Mary what they're eating, because I think that's really important. Where does it come from? what can we do to reduce our footprint? Because food and the food industry has such a huge footprint that anything that we can do here at William & Mary to reduce that is important. So I've been fortunate enough to have a team this year of about a dozen different interns working on projects such as composting in all of our different dining halls, such as composting in Marketplace, in Sadler, and in the CAF. And also we have a new partnership with Calgary Farms where we have students going out there planting food, harvesting crops, and then having that food come back to William & Mary. So both of those processes are trying to reach that goal. And then my role has been this year working on that and also mentoring the students and the dining interns as much as possible.
What has that kind of been like? Do you think that the William & Mary population is now more educated about kind of like what they're eating and where it comes from?
You know, I hope so. I know that we have a ton of work to do, so we're just kind of like setting in groundwork, and we're trying to advertise as much as possible. There's videos now. We have a farm day that will happen on April 15th this year, where all the students, as part of Earth Week, are invited to the farm, and we'll have a volunteer opportunity and planting opportunities. And then in the fall, we have weekend trips where, you know, different groups, such as the Bike Alliance, has come out, and they've come out to the farm as a group. They've had a bonding experience, and they've learned about how to, you know, plant your own food or weed or harvest or something. So we try to bring groups from William & Mary out to the farm to really show them where some of their food is coming from. So that's been a way that we've been able to expose, you know, some of that advertising. And then for Marketplace, we've had a lot of students tabling and students outside tabling and tabling in Marketplace. So it's all like a little bit of a step-by-step, but we're trying to raise awareness.
So it sounds like to me that like a lot of these things that you're starting, like maybe previously didn't exist before, and become like the pioneer of something new. What does it kind of like feel like to be like part of something like that, and does it ever come with any like challenges?
Absolutely, yes. So it feels fantastic. I mean, I think one of the, you know, biggest things for me, you know, the farm was a big step in getting that to happen and moving that through the bureaucracy of William & Mary and Sodexo and everything, and actually being able to see the farm and then see the food for the first time in the dining halls was incredible. And then I think the first time we had a conference at National Wildlife Federation for Easley, I mean, that was one day, was in my head, and then, you know, after a little bit of work and a lot of work with community partners and other students, we were able to put on this event. And then to be able to see that, wow, you know, you as a student can make such a big difference. I mean, that's really huge. And I think if more students realize, you know, that they had that capacity and that ability to make that kind of change, then we would see more changes like that. Because, you know, I don't think that I'm like unique in that way. I feel like every student has that capacity. Like every student can do this. It's just a willingness, and you know, you have to kind of like challenge yourself and drive yourself to actually complete the task. But it feels great. And then I guess to answer your second question, the difficulties involved are taking something that you've started and then being able to make it sustainable. And so when I say that, I mean like being able to pass it on to a new group of people who will be just as committed as you are. And I think, you know, various environmental projects have seen how difficult that can be. But if you're able to do that, then you know that you've been able to succeed.
Mm-hmm. What steps have you kind of like taken to make sure that like these projects that you're undertaking are sustainable and will like, you know, be there for the long term?
So I've come up with an acronym. It's called TOAST, and I'm going to run you through it. So the T stands for time. So whenever you're committing yourself to a project, you need to physically put in your calendar chunks of time that you're going to set aside to work on that project. So what I do is, like, when I'm planning out my week, I'll set aside a couple of hours, a day or something for this project. So it's really important, crucial that you actually make that time and you put it in just like you would a sports activity or something like that. The second aspect of Toast is organization. So you really need to be able to have some sort of platform where you're able to keep all of your materials. So for me, for instance, Google Drive and having a Google email address has been really helpful. And within your Google Drive, you have different folders and you can have different people access them. Have a photos folder, for example, have a master contact list where you have all of your different contacts for your organization. Those are some different examples. After you do any part of your project, go back and have some sort of analysis or evaluation page where you can actually continue to evaluate your program. That's O. A is be a community partner. So when I say that, I mean, like, make sure that you make yourself available to as many community partners as possible. So for instance, with Easley, partnering with National Wildlife Federation gave us a space to host our conference. Otherwise we wouldn't have had the space, or we would have had to pay like so much money, $150 an hour for a space. But instead we got it for free because we were a partner. We found community partners with different food groups, donation groups, things like that. So be a community partner and partner with as many people around you as possible. Okay, S, that's sustainable. So that's what I touched on before. And that means that when you leave the organization, you need to be able to have a team in place. And how does that happen? That's going to be the last T of Toast, which is the team. So you need a really, really solid team, and that means that whenever you're making decisions as a leader, you're making it with your team. Because if you, Jack, or me, if I were to make decisions by myself, then a couple things happen. One, you then kind of create sort of a hierarchy, and where you're saying like you're sort of above these other people because you're making decisions for the group. Second of all, then the rest of the people don't know kind of what's happening, and they don't have as much say in the decision, so they're less likely to be as involved in the organization. The more you can distribute tasks and give ownership to other teammates, the more your organization will be successful, because then they will feel like they're more connected with your organization, like they have more invested in your organization, if that makes sense. So, and then part of this team is, for example, with Easley, we have a mentor-mentee system set up where you want a system where you always have like the leader as someone who's familiar with the organization, and you want someone there who can mentor that leader. And then that leader will then step up to the mentor and you'll have a new mentee. And then that mentee will step up as the mentor and you'll have a new mentee. And so you'll constantly have this kind of like staggered thing where one of the leaders will always have been part of the organization, and not only part of an organization, but running part of the organization. So if you follow Toast, then you can be a successful leader.
Yeah. So you all, I think that was a great example and very applicable to a lot of college students. So what would you say, I guess, so you seem to be a person that's very involved, and what would you say to like students who might be afraid that like they don't have time, or they're very busy, because how do you like manage that?
Yeah, so how you manage that is that you don't take on that many activities. Take on 2 or 3 activities and make sure that it's kind of like covering, once you've completed like those 3 activities and your school work, that you're completing all of your different goals. So for example, within those different activities, you have some sort of social life that you feel like is complete, you have some sort of community involvement, you still feel like you're on top of your studies, and you want to be like active in some way, so you still have time for sports or something like that. So finding a balance between those things and then not taking on any more than that. And what that means is alternating projects. So one semester, you might want to dedicate yourself to one project for a year or two and put yourself in it. And then, make sure that you have a sustainable structure so that can be passed down to the next person. And then you can join a different club and leave that club. But you definitely don't want to stretch yourself too thin, because then you can't be useful to that organization.
Could you maybe talk about what form that's kind of taken in your own projects or own life?
Yeah, so I've definitely experienced the burnout and the feeling of doing way too much. But like I said, like one thing that I do is I, journal a lot, and I also write down like the different activities I'm going to do for the next day, the day before, so that I don't get to like Tuesday and I'm like, what am I doing on Tuesday? Like on Monday night, I've already planned out my Tuesday schedule. So that way you wake up and you're like, I am ready for the day. This is what I'm going to do. More of a long-term basis, like figuring out what you are most needed in, where you're most like happy and satisfied. If you can get paid for it, like for sustainability dining services, that's a job. So I'm doing it, but it's also fulfilling, part of my needs, because it's paying me, it's allowing me to do that job. So finding those different things that kind of complete that circle, and taking a good hard look at that circle ahead of time of all your activities, and making sure that that completes all of your goals that you want to get done for the semester.
So what kind of are some of like your long-term goals or visions?
So I would like to be an outdoor educator after college, and that's just because I really want more time out in the field, and like I said before, I want to be able to travel to these different places, and that's a great way to do it, and it's a good way to get exercise and everything else. And then, perhaps long term, maybe I'll do environmental education policy to try to implement these types of outdoor education residency programs into the school curriculum.
That's awesome. What would you recommend for students that maybe are interested in looking at similar things in the future?
Yes, okay, well, there's lots of different sites and everything like that they can go on. So if you want to be an environmental educator, NAAE is a really good website to look up. You can look up lifelab.org, and they have job searches and job listings that I think is really helpful. Other than that, I would say, make as many community partners as you can, so that when you are looking for a job, you can kind of just send out a note to some community partner friends and be like, hey, I'm looking for a job, does anyone know of anything or anything like that? Because oftentimes maybe a job's not listed or something like that, but if they see you as a very able candidate, then they'll want to have you on board.
How do you form those relationships with community partners?
Try to see what they're looking for, so what is it that would benefit them from your partnership, and be very honest with them about what you want, and oftentimes just meeting up for coffee a couple of times, showing them that you care about what they're doing is really important.
Yeah. I guess another question is, how do you stay resilient, especially, I guess, during times it gets tough, or during times where it seems that the world doesn't always appreciate the environment and environmental work that people are doing?
Yes. Good question. I think I'm still learning that one. No, but in all honesty, I think it's build as much local power and local partnerships as you can. Get involved with local government. I know a lot of people say that, but it's true. Getting to know your delegates, getting to know your state senators, and really pushing them, finding out what those local bills are, because you really do have an influence on that level.
Yeah. Let's see. Any other thoughts you'd like to leave with William & Mary students?
I think that's it. Keep doing great things, William & Mary students. Okay. Great, cut.